Sunday, and let's get it going with the fish.
Bengals at Dolphins.
Well, you look at what the Miami Dolphins decided to do. They decided not necessarily to bench Tua Tagovailoa, but they made a decision to go with Ryan Fitzpatrick for one game. Tua's back in the fold. They go out there, they take care of business against the Cincinnati Bengals, and a lot of people thought that they were going to bench him for Fitzy, but that wasn't the magic that the Dolphins needed. They needed Tua to be magic.
Lions at Bears.
Yeah, well, whatever. You know, as far as this goes, I'm kind of over the Matt Nagy era in Chicago. I think that they need to make a decision on what they want to do. When you think about it, here's a speech that he gave, a week ago, talking about everybody holding him accountable and all the different things, and his defense can't talk publicly and whatever rumors were coming out of Chicago. But when you look at it, the Chicago Bears just Chicago'd it. That's basically how I sum it up. They were off to a 3-0 start. The beginning of the season, he made an executive decision to go with a guy that he loved, and Nick Foles essentially has them in this position where they're at now, on the outside looking in for the playoffs.
Saints at Falcons.
You know, they've gone on and won some games with Taysom Hill under the helm and replaced Drew Brees. There's no question about it. But I think that the New Orleans Saints and Sean Payton can't wait to get Drew Brees back in the fold. One of the main reasons they need to do this is because as they get ready for the playoffs, you want to have some rhythm going into it with your starting quarterback and Drew Brees. They can't wait for him to get back as far as I'm concerned.
Raiders at Jets.
They are still a playoff team. They dodged a big bullet out of New York. I can't believe that the Jets gave that game away by allowing Henry Ruggs to go the distance at the end of regulation. It made no sense for Greg Williams to put that young man in that position on a blitz zero call. It happened. The Raiders are going to be a dangerous team if and when they get into the playoffs.
Patriots at Chargers.
I told y'all, don't count them out just yet. Bill Belichick somehow figures out how to get it done until they are mathematically eliminated from playoff contention as well as winning the division. Don't forget that the Bills still got to play the 49ers. They still got to play Miami again, and they still got to play the New England Patriots. I understand Cam Newton threw for less than 100 yards. I get it. We want him to be Tom Brady. At least some people do. But they're winning football games in Bill Belichick fashion. Every time you think about Belichick, oh, God, it's over. They're not gonna. He comes up with some magical dust to do something in terms of the style of play. They're running the football, playing defense, and playing big-time special teams and winning.
And keep in mind, Buffalo still has to play Pittsburgh, too. Add that on
exactly,
to the ledger.
And they still got to play Pittsburgh.
Indeed. Key observations brought to you by Geico. Whether you rent or own, Geico makes it easy to bundle home and car insurance. Go to geico.com today. Jay, your thoughts?
So I know there was a lot of conversation out of the Eagles-Packers game about Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts, but I actually just want to pay major respect to Aaron Rodgers because after yesterday, he is now the first player in NFL history with 5 seasons of at least 35 passing TDs, Zubin. Of at least 35 passing TDs. And I go back to a comment that Key made earlier in the year. He's saying all this talk about Jordan Love coming in and who's going to be the starting quarterback. I guarantee you this, Key said, that Aaron Rodgers will probably be signing a major extension when it's all said and done. And that's what's going to happen.
It's so funny. I was thinking about it last night, just as I was sitting down, whatever, watching TV. Not Gonzaga, by the way. And I said to myself, what if Aaron Rodgers wins the Super Bowl this year? What if he wins the Super Bowl? What happened to all the Jordan Love and the receivers? Where does that conversation go? It just, nobody says anything anymore, right? It's like, oh, no, we never said that. I never said that they needed a receiver. You think he needs receivers? Do you think he needs some receivers?
He's got the best one in the game, so that's fine.
No, I'm serious.
He needed some help on defense, but I mean, they didn't make any moves. They knew what they were doing. Apparently.
No, but exactly right. Yeah. So it's always funny to me when the outsiders of organizations start to talk about what organizations need internally. Clearly, he didn't need receiver help. Clearly, they wasted the pick on Jordan Love because Jordan Love won't see the field for at least another 6 years before he even sees the field.
In Green Bay.
Anywhere. Because if he's not getting on the field in Green Bay, then 4 years go by, you don't even know what you have. So what you going to do? You going to trade for him? Like, he's a first-round backup for the next 6 years.
Let me just say this to add on to that great stat that Jay had about the touchdown passes for Aaron Rodgers. Already this season, last night, by the way, he threw his 400th touchdown pass, and he threw it to Devontae Adams, which only seems appropriate. That's his guy. They've been in lockstep together. And a couple weeks ago, he passed the 50,000-yard mark for his career. So think about just the last few weeks for Aaron Rodgers. 50,000 career, the 35 touchdowns that Jay mentioned, the 400 career, thrown to his guy, the self-proclaimed best wide receiver in the National Football League. Can I add one more thing from the division nobody's talking about? This is my mini observation. It's Key's observations, Jay's observations. The Detroit Lions got a win yesterday under interim coach Darrell Bevell. And what made it interesting was Matt Patricia was fired because he simply could not hold on to leads. The Lions would lose games the way the Chargers do, the Falcons do, these devastating ways. And Matt Patricia was famous for saying more football games are lost than won, all those types of cliches. They had tons of fourth quarter leads, and they couldn't do anything. Yesterday, they rallied to win a game. They didn't have a lead, and they blew it. They rallied to win. Great spot for Darrell Bevell.
It's good for Darrell Bevell. I'm still mad at him, though.
Why?
Because he called the play in the Super Bowl.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, he called that slant and got it picked against New England. You know better than that. Turn around and hand Lynch the ball, man.
Malcolm Butler loved that call.
And I'm sure a ton of New England people loved it too. It's so funny, right? They fire a coach, an interim coach takes over, they win a game. That happens. Atlanta did it, Houston. It's like every team that fires their coach, the interim coach comes in and wins the game.
That's why I bet on Detroit the other day.
Did you?
I mean, I listened to Joe Fortenbaugh. I mean, he kind of said it perfectly on our show on Friday.
It's amazing, but when you look at it, some of the strange things that happen in football, in particular, is Chicago fires Lovie Smith after winning 10 games and taking them to a Super Bowl, and Detroit fires Caldwell after going 9-7. And you see what they got. It's just crazy to me. It's so wild to me.
Mostly great day for the division. All those statistical accomplishments for Aaron Rodgers, the rally for Detroit, and a miracle win for the Minnesota Vikings, keeping them in the playoff hunt as well. The only team that didn't carry the water, as usual, the Chicago Bears. On the way, a team that's lost 4 of 5, and their only win in that span comes on a Hail Mary. But the biggest problem is what happened to them yesterday, namely the team they saw, they just can't get past. That's after Key.
What are you talking about, Key?
Has this from Sport Clips.
No idea what you're talking about.
I bet you don't. Make sure I get this correct this time, J. Will. Remember, being in your favorite